Hey, Randy Joe here, and this is 1001 Reviews, a series where I plan on reviewing every single album from the 1001 albums to listen to before you die book. And today we are looking at Orange Juice's 1982 album, Rip It Up. Rip It Up was released underneath the Polydor label, produced by Martin Hales with art direction from Pete Watson, nationality UK, and a running time of 42 minutes and 20 seconds. Now, I'm not too familiar with the band Orange Juice, however, I do know that they are a new wave or post-punk band, so knowing that, I kind of have some idea of what to expect from this thing, but I'm not too sure what the overall sound will be like, as I have never heard them before. This album has 10 songs and it's 42 minutes long, so without further ado, we're going to jump right into it with their most popular track, Rip It Up, hitting nearly 16 million streams at the time of recording this.
If I could have held you, I would have held you. Rip it up and start again.
Right off the bat, I just want to say very evident who their influences are. I think bands like Talking Heads kind of come to mind here, but also a bit Brian Eno-esque in the vocal arrangements, at least. Would make sense given the Talking Heads and Brian Eno collaborations, but I can definitely hear that in this first song here. Orange Juice.
I hope to God.
That sound specifically kind of reminds me of Tom Tom Club. The correlation there as well is kind of interesting, given the members of that are members from Talking Heads as well, Tina Weymouth. So the connection kind of makes sense, but definitely hear the sound there, especially with Tom Tom Club's most popular song.
Rip it up and start again. Rip it up.
That one's a lot of fun. That's a really fun song. Very vibey, very mellow and laid back in tone, but still kind of has enough energy into it that you can kind of move to it. Great new wave song. Clearly Talking Heads influenced, but not in a bad way. It does not feel like a ripoff. Just feels like a fantastic sort of tribute almost. So I'll give that one a 9 out of 10. I love that song. On to the next track, A Million Pleading Faces. I don't even know what language he's speaking. I know I've said it multiple times already, but the drumming in the background here, like the bongos, is very much like Remain in Light by the Talking Heads. So, again, comparisons are very evident. A very sunny, sort of optimistic tone. Also kind of reminds me of the opening track off of Fear of Music, the song I Zumbra by Talking Heads as well. Again, coming in strong on this one. That cutoff there is very abrupt. I love it. Gonna give that one a 7.5 out of 10. Extremely enjoyable. Not many complaints. Maybe worst case scenario here, or worst elements of the track, I should say, is the very evident influence of Talking Heads on it, which isn't a bad thing. It just lacks some sense of originality. So 7.5, still very good. Next up is the third track, Mud in Your Eye. Kind of Roxy music inspired now. Brian Eno-esque. Much slower song. Not as upbeat and like energy induced. I like this instrumental though, it's very sweet. The violins are so sweet. Ooh, it transitions into the next. That's honestly fantastic. However, Mud in Your Eye, pretty good song, enjoyable, sweet, delicate, 7 out of 10. And now, Mud in Your Eye, transitioning into the 4th track, Turn Away. You can already see the glaring issue with this album is that it isn't anything you haven't really heard already in this book. But again, just because it's derivative does not necessarily mean it's a negative. It just means it's lacking some originality. If you enjoy Talking Heads and you enjoy bands in that new wave sort of element, then you will enjoy this most likely. Synthy fade out. I feel like the first track was such a high point that every track afterwards feels not as strong in comparison, but none of it is particularly bad either. It's just above average, just kind of holding itself afloat. Turn Away gets a 7. On to the 5th track, halfway through the album, Breakfast Time, go. Breakfast Time with orange juice. Sounds like a good pairing to me. Good production on this album overall so far. Pretty clean. I feel like the sound's getting sort of played out at this point. Maybe with more listens it'll grow on me. This outro is pretty engaging, like this whole last minute or so, bringing a lot more into the sound, livening it up a bit. Felt a bit more bored with that one. Not a very strong track. I'm gonna give it a 5 overall, to be honest. But that brings us to the 6th track, I Can't Help Myself, which is the second most popular song from Orange Juice with 6.8 million streams. So that bodes well. I mean, clearly it's going to be a bit more poppier, probably a bit more engaging in its sound, maybe similar to the opening track. Let's go. I was right. That's fun. An upbeat, incredibly upbeat, actually, love song. Very sweet. Guitar solo. Saxophone solo now. The song really rides out its different sounds and kind of goes into different directions, which is enjoyable, mixing things up a bit. Who is on the saxophone? Dick Morrissey. Dick Morrissey on the saxophone, really just taking it away. Alright, I Can't Help Myself. Pretty good track, but still not like absolutely blowing me away like the opener did. I'm gonna give that one a 7. On track 7, we got Flesh of My Flesh. Let's get it. I really like the lyrics on here. They kind of seem sort of passive-aggressive and a little petty. Here's a penny for your thoughts. Incidentally, you may keep the change. I really like that line. It feels sort of passive-aggressive in tone. Kind of humorous as well. The horns on this one are very sweet. Just like that. Good melody overall on this one. That's a pretty good song. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Simple, engaging, 7 out of 10. On to Louise, 8th track, go. Short, only 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Shortest one on the album.
Don't make things.
I like those backup vocals here, very sweet, delicate.
Will they make you see the blood?
I'm loving this one so far. Short but sweet, short but dense. A lot of sound. A lot of diversity, and it's 2 minutes. Like that guitar too, it's just so gorgeous.
Nor will they make you see things in a different light.
That is beautiful. I really love just this whole verse here, but I know these melodramatics don't make things all right, nor will they make you see things in a different light. Is a amazing lyric, and his vocal delivery on it too is just perfect in every way. I loved that one. I'm gonna give that one a 9 out of 10. I think it's as good as the opener. I think it's a great song. I think there's a lot there to enjoy. It's 2 minutes and 55 seconds as it packs quite a bit in there. The backup vocals fantastic. The lyrics here too, very sweet, very almost mournful in tone, and his delivery on that as well is just easily executing the sentiment of the lyrics. So I give that one a 9 out of 10. On to the 9th song, Hokoyo. Well, that was a unexpected turn. I really like that. Was that a xylophone? Sounds like a xylophone to me. Who is singing on this one? That is definitely not the normal singer. I think it might be Zeke Benyaka, who is the drummer of the band, taking up vocals this time. I could be wrong. Hokoyo Shamnari. I really love this whole breakdown here. The part in the beginning and this part here, the xylophone and the zipping sound effects throughout this thing. Very engaging. I will say by the 9th track, the talking head comparisons kind of go away to some extent. They don't feel as evident. I think they come into their own about halfway through this album. Sometimes better, sometimes for worse, but this is an example of better, in my opinion. Very busy sound here. Just straight up shouting at that point. Just wailing in the background. Hokoyo. Good song. Fucking fantastic in terms of its diversity in tone as it mixes up a lot of different sounds. Gets to the point where there's just talking in the background, screaming. I enjoyed this one. I think this is Orange Juice maybe at their most unique. Does not feel like they are taking too much from others. Instead, feels more like an influence rather than a copycat. So Hokoyo, I'd say 8 out of 10. Next track is Tenterhook. Don't know what a tenterhook is, but that's the next track. Let's get it. Last track, by the way. Closing out the album with Tenterhook. His vocal delivery is very reminiscent of Roxy Music's singer, Brian Ferry, I believe his name is. It's like a crooning kind of vocal style. Apparently a tenterhook is a hook used to fasten cloth on a drying frame or tenter. I did not know that, but now I do. So that gives a bit of context as to what this song is alluding to or being a metaphor for. I think that's evident with the lyrics. Yes, my sheets were always freshly laundered. Change the world. I lost it. I don't know if it's just me, but the mixing on this one feels much fuzzier than anywhere else on the album. Like his vocals feel like they're too fuzzy into the mix. Like all of it sounds fuzzy, actually. Turning and turning. Alright, and that pretty much does it for Rip It Up as an album. Tenterhook, a much slower closing track, sounds like a breakup song from what I can gather, like two lovers going away and sort of mourning the loss of that relationship. Lyrics like, I still took one last lingering look, but there was so much left unsaid, but as they said, you make your bed, feels like to me, like a breakup track of some sort. As long as there was no blood spilt on my fresh white sheets. Together you and I have changed the world. Stuff like that feels like it is almost a goodbye track of sorts. A good closer on an album, I would say. And I would give that one a 8 out of 10. Overall, quite enjoyable in its tone. That being said, this is an overall pretty enjoyable album. I would say it is clearly influenced by the likes of Roxy Music, Brian Eno, Talking Heads, many of the new wave bands from the late 70s, really. And this coming out in 1982 does not feel like it is too unique to stand on its own, as those influences are pretty clear. And I do think about halfway through the album, Orange Juice sort of finds their footing, especially with tracks like Hokoyo, which feel like is more unique to their own sort of style and sound. But still, the best tracks on here, in my opinion, are the ones that are clearly influenced by others, to the point where it is bordering on tribute tracks in a way. So even though I enjoy this album through and through, I do think it lacks some sense of originality because of the strong influences throughout. If you like those bands like I do, then you'll definitely enjoy this. This is an enjoyable album in my opinion, though. I do enjoy most of the album here. The weakest track I would say is Breakfast Time, which I gave a 5 out of 10 to, and the best tracks being Rip It Up and Louise. The soft rating of this album came to a 7.6 out of 10, and I will harden that rating to a 7 out of 10. Lowering it down just because I do think it lacks the originality to, bring it to something higher, and it's not like it is the greatest new wave album I've ever heard, but it is still an above average new wave project. So gets a 7 out of 10 hard rating. And another thing I want to note is that none of it really sounds dated either, which I think most new wave doesn't really date horribly, and this is an example of an album that hasn't been dated. So I would say, again, that's a big plus as well. That all being said, though, this is a not essential record. I don't think it's an absolute must listen. I just think it is a must listen if you enjoy new wave and want more new wave, and you want to kind of dive into a band that is a bit more obscure than what's already known in the mainstream of new wave, such as Talking Heads. But if you like that, check out Rip It Up by Orange Juice. But other than that, this is a not essential record. And that pretty much does it for this reaction/review. So let's go ahead and see what the next album we're listening to is in the 1001 Albums Listened to Before You Die book. Random number generator 1 to 1001. Generate 673, which will be the album. Pet Shop Boys Behavior. I've never listened to Pet Shop Boys before, as far as I know, so that will be reviewed next. Please hit like if you like and subscribe if you want to follow along and listen to every album from the 1001 Albums Listened to Before You Die. And as always, my name is Randy Joe, and I am signing off.